strength training work for, like, let's say I want to improve my core strength because I think it's going to make me more capable of being taught business.
By the way, this is Mags, professional triathlete. He's won 8,000 triathlons.
8,000.
Her question is about strength for swimming, and I want to address that if I can under the strength section.
Oh.
But but it's a great question. So let's talk about equipment. Snorkel, single most important tool for swimming. If there's one piece of equipment you buy, and you can buy only besides your suit and your goggles, snorkel. Use it. It's a pain in the ass in the beginning because it's a little difficult to get used to, but once you're familiar with it, you never want to take it off because it feels that good to swim with it. You keep your head absolutely still, and you can work on lots of different things with it. So it's helpful if you have a coach to work with you. Snorkel, number one. Next most important thing to have for triathletes, a pull buoy. Pull buoy. Of course, Triathlete has it. $12. This is a great sport, by the way. $4,000 to $15,000 for a bike. $12 for a pull buoy. $32 or $38 for a snorkel. Okay. Everybody should have a pull buoy. In fact, I think everybody should have 2 pull buoys. One this size and not any bigger. There are pull buoys that are double-headed, meaning, I'm sorry, well, this is a double-headed one. There's one head here, one head here. But there are ones that are made that have a larger head. Do not get that type. The only person who's allowed to wear that type is someone like Peter Brantley. Because he's big, he's dense. Those of us who know Peter, tall, 6'5", very, very muscular, very dense, and he sinks a lot. He could use a pull buoy with a much larger head, but for the most of us, this is fine. Then get one that's half this size. It's something you'd buy for your 8-year-old kid. It's a kid's pull buoy. And it costs $8. Even better.
Triathlete have those?
If they don't, I'm sure they'll be happy to order them.
If they don't, apparently, I should try.
So you want to get the little one because you're going to use it at other times, at specific times during your season. So snorkel, pull buoy, and here's the one that nobody wants to use but yet. This is called an ankle strap. You can make a band out of inner tube from your bike and cut it out and cut it into thirds and make a band and tie it around the ankles in a figure 8. But my experience in coaching, everyone's found a way to kick that band around still. And before you know it, that band that was nice and tight gets nice and stretched out. These things, they're like shackles around your ankles. They keep your ankles locked in place. And what's really important is you want to have your ankles together when you're doing pulling sets with your toes turned in, touching each other. It's going to be really hard to do for some of you guys. Triathletes generally are inflexible in your ankles, because you spend a lot of time running and riding, which creates stiffness down there. So your feet sort of point down to the bottom of the pool. We want to try to get as much flexibility as you can. So you want to turn those toes in if you can, and just practice after practice after practice, and then big toes are touching. Yes?
That's why that is. The toes touching, and that was like one of the first, times I've heard that.
Jan asked why the toes are touching. Because when we kick, the propulsion comes from the top of the feet, and when they're turned inward, that's where you get the propulsion. When we turn our feet outward, we tend to generally flex them rather than point them. They get flexed, and flexed feet end up pointing down to the bottom of the pool. Okay? And if you're going in that direction and you have this little piece hanging down, it creates a big drag. And I'm glad you asked this question because this is a good little segue for a second. We did a test about 10 years ago, and we tested, I was the guinea pig, we tested me swimming a 100 easy, 70%, 107 for 100, this is when I was fit, 107 for 100. Then we put, then they had me swim without kicking, just legs behind and trying to hold them up. 115, a minute and 15 seconds. Then we had put the toes pointing down, like Jen was asking. We had the toes down and swim. A minute and 42 seconds. I became one of you guys. And that's all from the toes being pointed down, because Because what happens, guys, these little eddies get created and the leg gets pulled down, and then we get out of balance. And we create a tremendous amount of drag, tons of resistance. At the end of the day, we want a really small, long, skinny body and a very tight cylinder going through the water. Once you start spreading it out or breaking it at the waist or doing anything other than perfect tautness, tremendous resistance comes in and it slows you down. Why? The water is 700-800 times denser than the atmosphere. You can make mistakes riding your bike and running from an aerodynamic perspective. We've seen runners run with their elbows out, do all sorts of mistakes, and it retards running speed a bit. And we see the same thing with biking. It retards biking speed a bit. But in swimming, 700 to 800 times denser medium, and you're traveling pretty slow. Even if you're Michael Phelps, he's only going 4 miles an hour. So 4 miles an hour, and then in a thick medium, you guys are going 2 miles an hour on average. Yeah, Jen?
Excuse me, what would you recommend for someone with like an arched back?
Stretch your hip flexors.
Because it causes them overload.
Okay, so we've got snorkels, buoys, ankle bands. Are you ready for the last piece of equipment? The fins. There's actually one more little thing. Fins. Fins are great for every triathlete to have because you get and there's certain types of fins. You want a fin that has a, we didn't have any here, I was looking for what they had. You want a fin that has pretty good reinforcements along the sides and with a slightly longer blade. No zoomers, they're too short bladed. And zoomers tend to put a lot of strain on your lower back, so I've found over the years that many people end up with a little bit of lower back pains. So I don't recommend a real short blade. Slightly, you don't need a very, very long blade, but you need a reasonably length blade, but reinforced on the side. On our website, tower26.com, we have a swim package that has fins. We use a fin made by Speedo, and it's a $20 fin. It's actually the cheapest fin on the market, but I find it to be the best for you guys' needs. Michael Phelps and other swimmers, or even great triathletes, Javier Gomez that swam, Andy Potts, these guys have swam 15-30 for miles, they can use different types of fins because they have flexible ankles already. But for most of us, there's a certain type of product that works better for you. The final product that probably not all of us, and I would only know to recommend it to you if I'd seen you swim, is a tempo trainer. And a tempo trainer is a little metronome that you would wear in your swim cap, and it beeps, and you set the beep, and the goal is to keep up with the beep so we can help increase your stroke rate, number one. And number two, for those who have very imbalanced strokes, meaning you might swim 1, 2, 1, 2, or something like that, it's very imbalanced. It helps you because the beeps are synchronized, beep, 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 and not beep, beep, beep. So you get to keep up with the beep and have a balanced stroke. So those are your equipment items. Questions? Yes.
For the tempo trainer, the goal would be to increase the stroke way above 60.
Well, what you do first is you get someone to measure your stroke rate per minute, and you probably create a 3 to 5% increase on the tempo trainer, and then you start training at that 3 to 5% increase. So whatever your stroke rate is to start with, knowing that at some point, as you get better and better as an athlete, your stroke rate also goes up. So we make those incremental improvements until you get to all good swimmers, very good swimmers, and all good triathletes that swim fast. All the athletes of the ITU races, which are Olympic distance races, those guys are all